Hello guys. So in this video I just want to give a heads up that once you're going through these courses and you're working along with the hardwares and sensors and you're writing along the code whatever I have given the connections. So not every time it works in one attempt. Sometimes what happens, you do some wrong wire connection. Sometimes the wire what you're using might be not proper, the jumpers what you're using might be not proper. Sometimes what happen, instead of connecting to one pin you connect it by mistake to the next pin. So there are few things, few cases where what happens because of this tiny mistakes which is not done on purpose, but still it happens and you don't get output, and many times it is frustrating and also demotivating. So don't get demotivated. Coming to hardware part, it is very important to debug. So many times it happens your hardware doesn't work, or you're sometimes using some extreme high components which you don't get much of an information in the blogs or anywhere. So I'll just say you few tips and tricks how you can just deal with this. So for cases where you're working with sensors which has not been listed here, or you're using some sensors which has been newly deployed or something old which has not been explained here, so you can always go ahead and you can YouTube and you can read blogs. So you can go ahead and example, you can write YouTube. And now I'll give you an example. You're working with GSM and GSM module, that is making calls and sending SMS through your Arduino. So in that cases you can just go ahead and you can write here how to use GSM module with Arduino, something like this. So whatever sensor you're trying to use, you can go ahead and write, and then you will have many such tutorials and step-by-step explanation if you are using something which has not been listed, or you're trying to incubate something in your project it is not been listed here. Now other cases, what happens is when you're working and suddenly you need some program which has not been listed. Yes, so in that case what you can do is you can just go ahead and you can check for blogs, or you can check for code on GitHub. Say for example, I need a code to run ultrasonic sensor. Yeah, so I'll just write Arduino ultrasonic sensor code. So you just have to write the board and then the sensors, and then ESC. You will have many such blogs which will give you a step-to-step explanation about your code. So sometimes what happens, you are using some components or some board which is not there, right? So you can just go ahead and you can get many such codes and explanations from many such websites. So you'll have beautiful explanations. Also you'll have code with that, so connections, and also you have some codes here, right? So you can go ahead and you can use this code. You can just copy paste, or you can do some changes. You can change the pin and you can go ahead and you can use this code. So these are some cases where you're working with some sensors that is not being displayed here, or you're using some high-end sensors which is you need the code for it, you're not understanding, or you need to debug, so you have to do this. Now many a times it happens that even if you are installing library, the library doesn't get installed properly, or when you're downloading, or when you're using your custom library, when you're using particularly some sensors which need custom library, if it doesn't work, so don't worry, you just have to go ahead and you have to download it from GitHub. So for example, I'm using an GPS module, and for GPS there is a library called as Tiny GPS. So you just have to write library for Neo GPS sensor. So you will straight away go and have links. You will have GitHub links, you will have Arduino's links. So see, I have all this GPS library tutorials and all. So example, you're using this GSM module, you have explanation of what are the functions that library has, that what is the implementation of library, plus you get the link to download the library. So you can go ahead and download it on even GitHub. You can just write here, you can write sensor and you can write GitHub. So when you write this, you get the GitHub link for your that particular GPS where you can check the code. You can go ahead and download. So these are the ways you can just go ahead and download the libraries. Now coming to the connection part, many a times it happens that you are doing the same connection what I'm saying, but your output doesn't work for you. So as I listed the reasons, it might be because your wires are not working, or you might have done a tiny small changes in your by mistake you might have connected to some other pin, or you have not connected it properly on breadboard, or sometimes it even happens when you're buying new electronic components, the component doesn't work. We think it's new and it has to work, but the component doesn't work. Few components they have LED showing us that the LED indicates that okay, power on and off. Other sensors like DHT or whatever we use, it has no LEDs. Directly you have to read data, and if it is not working, you think it is problem of code, library, or your connection, but actually it is the sensor itself. So electronic devices, you can have no guarantee, you know, so sometimes you have to check that also. You should be patient and you should be able to, you know, identify that also. Okay, might be that this is a sensor problem also, that this sensor wherever I have purchased, you know, if it is in warranty, you can go ahead and you can get it replaced, or you can talk to them, or if you have purchased online, you can get it replaced. So there are many things when you're coming to hardware and you're coming to Arduinos and IoT. You have to be patient to learn this, because in this series you will have you have to debug many such errors. You will be learning for the first time, so obviously you will be getting errors, so you have to be patient and you have to debug all this. So the more errors you get, the more you debug, the more you learn. So the next time when you're writing same thing, you will avoid such mistakes and you will know in prior that okay, these are the things I have to make sure I don't follow again, so that I don't get such errors. So these are the ways, and these are few tips and tricks you have to use when you're working with any projects, when you're working with any hardware, be it any board, IoTs. So you have to make sure you note all this.